Turning now to the much talked about healthcare summit set for Thursday of this week. President Obama is preparing to host a bipartisan group of lawmakers for this televised talk about overhauling the system. Who's not on the invitation list? No governors of any state. Not the governor of Mississippi. Haley Barbour is with us this morning. He's chairman of the Republican Governors Association. He and some fellow governors met with the president yesterday. Good morning to you, Governor.
Hey, Jane. Morning.
Some might say there will be enough cooks in the kitchen on Thursday as it is. Why should the nation's governors be there?
Well, actually, a lot more is being accomplished in terms of health care reform in the states than in the federal government. I mean, governors have to solve problems. We have to balance our budgets. So we're learning how to make savings in health care, where the president's now reproposed $1 trillion additional spending on health care. Even Democrat governors, I believe, it's fairly said, think there should be some governors from both parties who participate in this. But if the president's already decided what he's going to do, then it won't make any difference whether any governors there or not. Then we'll just have to see if he can get the votes.
Well, talk to me as a taxpayer about that. I mean, what really is going to happen on Thursday, if anything? If you listen to the posturing on both sides, it doesn't give you a lot of confidence going into it.
Well, I felt pretty reasonable about it until the president came out with his new plan. So instead of it being a meeting for everybody to talk about their ideas that we think would work and let's see what we can agree on, instead it's going to be, here's my plan. Now, is it going to be take it or leave it, or is it going to be, what do y'all not like about it? We governors this weekend, Democrats and Republicans, we sat out and talked about and agreed to have a committee to set out, here are all the things that at least 3/4 of the governors can agree on. And there are going to be a bunch of things, Jane. If that approach were taken, we could have some great incremental progress that would really make a difference. But if it's got the whole enchilada, or we're not going to let the Republicans have a voice, then we're not going to make any progress.
Well, what was your give and take like with the president yesterday? I mean, there were governors from both parties in the room.
Well, it was very cordial to start with, but there clearly are some things we agree on, some things we disagree on. Interestingly, the president said he thought the #1 thing that ought to be done in health care reform is to create some health exchanges or purchasing pools that will allow small businesses to go together to have more purchasing power to reduce their health insurance premiums. I have introduced that legislation in Mississippi. It's passed the Republican Senate unanimously twice. The Democratic House has never even taken it up in committee. The point, though, is there's something we all agree on. Now, we think it ought to be run by the states. We don't want a health exchange like Massachusetts. But Utah's got a health exchange that we think is something we would like to do something very similar to. So there's just an example of a way we could drive down the cost of health insurance for small businesses, which in my state, the biggest group of uninsured people are the employees of small businesses that can't afford to buy them health insurance. Why don't we start with things like that rather than having a health care plan that's going to be a huge unfunded mandate on states, drive up taxes in states enormously to pay for that mandate, and on top of that, even according to the Obama administration, this bill would make health insurance premiums go up.
Governor,
we're trying to make them go down.
Our viewers know that you spent many years in Washington, part of them as chair of the Republican National Committee. You're considered to have great political instincts. Do you see going forward the Democrats using what's known as the nuclear option, this idea of reconciliation and passing something with 51 votes instead of trying to meet the 60 threshold?
Jane, Social Security passed by about a 10-to-1 margin. I think it passed the House 330-30 back in the 1935 or 1934, whenever it was. It passed the Senate about 75 votes to 5 or 6. We only had 96 senators then. If you're going to make an enormous change that is so gigantic as this one that they're proposing in this government-run health care system, it needs to have the kind of support that the Social Security system had. It can't be driven down the country's throat on a narrow, partisan, party line vote, that if enduring gigantic change, and this certainly would be gigantic, has to be done on a bipartisan basis. Otherwise, the American people are going to rebel against it. You know, in a peculiar way, it'd be terrible for the country, but it'd be great for the Republicans if the Democrats try to do this under reconciliation rules.
We're going to have to leave it there to get the other side because John has a Democratic guest with him, Governor of Mississippi, Haley Barbour. Thank you.